Nancy Pelosi landed in Taiwan. And whether you realize it or not, this has been a historic event for the entire planet. And in case China would have hit this plane, this very well might have led to the Third World War. And today we are lucky enough to witness the history being made right in front of us. And the video you're watching right now is probably among the very first videos on the internet where the chain of events have been reconstructed day by day, hour by hour, and in some cases, minute by minute. It all started last week when Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, along with her delegation, went on this Indo-Pacific tour, which obviously was previously announced. Among the countries she was supposed to visit were Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. It is just that until the very last moment that her trip to Taiwan was never confirmed. And the reason why this specific country was so problematic for her to visit, it is because of the statements from China about the unity of China as one single country. And as you can imagine, the visit of the Western world representative to Taiwan basically shatters this message. Even though never officially declared, this visit of Nancy Pelosi basically makes the statement to the entire world that America does not recognize that Taiwan belongs to China, and in fact, Taiwan is a separate democratic country. But anyways, during that speculation time last week, China was already threatening America that Nancy Pelosi simply should not come to Taiwan. Because right here, for example, we have the official page of Chinese army in their social media called Weibo, which basically says that get ready for war. The Chinese army also started immediately bringing the military equipment and vehicles to the Fujian province, which is basically Taiwan straight away from Taiwan Island. Every single day we were also getting videos and pictures from this military training by the Chinese army in the South China Sea. And the Chinese media itself was making several claims that in case Pelosi indeed comes to Taiwan escorted by military jets, this will be considered as the invasion in the territory of China. They were also stating that in case the plane does not turn around, the Chinese fighter jets will have to make some warning shots. And in case this does not help as well, then the plane must be taken down. Which, as you can already guess, this gave birth to speculations by the entire world that this trip alone can be the trigger for the Third World War. At that point, and I'm not gonna lie, it felt pretty real, especially for the countries involved in this conflict. Specifically, the White House, the Biden administration, and even the Pentagon representatives, all of them were claiming that this trip is a sole initiative of Nancy Pelosi herself. What's even more, the Biden administration and Pentagon, they acknowledged the unity of China, which basically means that they indirectly did not confirm the independence of Taiwan. And this fact will be extremely important in a couple of minutes, so for now just please keep it in mind. But despite these reassurances, the military training of Chinese army still continued. At one point it even kind of felt that maybe Nancy Pelosi is not going to Taiwan. It was all the way until that moment when actually this trip was indirectly confirmed. And this happened by American government booking 48 spots in Grand Hyatt Hotel in Taipei for this American delegation. And as of that time, the arrival of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan was set to happen on August 2nd, 2022. And here are some mind-blowing statistics for you. Some of you probably heard about this online service called Flight Radar 24, which basically allows you to track almost any plane in real time. And so, as soon as Nancy Pelosi started her trip in that area, it was that at some point more than 300,000 people were tracking her flights. So, officially, her trip around Indo-Pacific region has started this last Sunday, July 31st. And obviously, the closer she was getting to Taiwan, the more intense it would have become. Now we fast forward to Tuesday, when approximately at 3:42 p.m. local Taiwanese time, the plane with Pelosi has left Malaysia. And their next destination was supposed to be Taiwan. America immediately puts 4 intelligence planes in the air above Taiwan, and approximately at 7:57 p.m. the plane with Pelosi suddenly changes the direction. And it looks like that this time it might have started going to this small Guam island, and people were speculating maybe this is just for refueling. And just 7 minutes later, at 8:04 p.m, the plane is back on its original course, straight to Taiwan. Approximately 20 minutes later, when it became certain that she is coming to this island, the Chinese army started relocating its intercontinental ballistic missiles DF-5B. 9:08 p.m. This is when the Japanese media has reported that 8 fighter jets and 5 refueling planes of the US Air Force have left the Japanese air bases. And most likely, these were among these planes which were supposed to meet the plane of Nancy Pelosi and safely escorted to Taiwan. And it was approximately at the same time where Taipei skyscrapers started projecting these welcome messages. 9:31 p.m, just 1 hour and 12 minutes before the landing, for the very first time the arrival airport for Nancy Pelosi plane has been announced, and this is the airport in Taipei, Taiwan. Less than 1 hour before the arrival, local residents started showing up. Some of them were supporting the arrival of Nancy Pelosi, and some of them were against this. The position of the supporters was pretty obvious, because this meant that America officially recognizes the independence of Taiwan. But those who were against Pelosi coming to the island, they were basically saying that this provocation is unnecessary. On the other side of Taiwan Strait, we can see that the roads of several cities, such as Xiamen, are full of the military vehicles. And at 10:03 p.m, just 40 minutes before the landing, this is when the fighter jets of Taiwan started escorting Nancy Pelosi to her final destination. It is also at that time when the airport where Nancy Pelosi was supposed to arrive, they started unpacking their 35mm anti-aircraft guns. Several minutes later, China closes the airspace for every civilian aircraft above Taiwan Strait. And approximately at 10:16 p.m, the army of China in Fujian province started, as they called it, warming up their own anti-aircraft guns. Local residents started getting closer to Sunshine Airport, and those who couldn't witness this event in real life, they started watching this online. 10:19 p.m, the very first reports of the military air sirens that have been activated in Fujian province in China have been sent to us. And it is approximately at the same time when the national TV in Taiwan started broadcasting about the initiation of the second level of combat readiness. 10:25 p.m, 18 minutes before the landing, this is when Chinese fighter jets Su-35 started patrolling above the Taiwan Strait. And 7 minutes later, the very same fighter jets started moving in the direction of Nancy Pelosi's plane. And whenever they were asked what was the reason of this maneuver, there was no reply. 10:36 p.m. Due to no reply from Chinese fighter jets, American Air Force releases several more of its own fighter jets from Japanese airports. And now, 2 minutes before the landing, this is when people were able to see the plane with Nancy Pelosi approaching the landing strip for the very first time. And finally, at 10:43 p.m. local Taiwanese time, this is when the plane has finally landed. And approximately 12 minutes later, Nancy Pelosi herself, along with her delegation, have left the plane and made this historic photo. It has been reported that at the moment of her landing, the number of people who are watching this flight on Flight Radar 24 has surpassed 708,000 people, which at this very moment is the absolute world record. One of the very first statements that Nancy Pelosi made after departing from the plane is that the reason for her visit is to show the unconditional support of America for Taiwanese democracy. And as soon as she landed, all these American government representatives who were kinda not supporting her in the very beginning started changing their minds. Among the very first ones was the representative of the Ministry of Defense of America, John Kirby, who said that this visit by Pelosi shows the American support for self-defense of Taiwan. He then also added that the United States of America will not allow any single country in the world to threaten them. The next statement came to us from the White House and basically said that America is not looking for confrontation with China, and they definitely do not want to show off their weapons. In response to that, the representatives of Chinese government started immediately saying that this visit by Nancy Pelosi breaks this promise of America about their support of Chinese unity, and that in the future China will not just let it go, there will be consequences. It is estimated that among the very first things that China might do is to restrict its businesses to deal with America, or even worse, to make them leave American market. Immediately after, China also announced its military training around Taiwan in the nearest future. And soon enough, both America and Taiwan started announcing the real reasons for this visit, which is to talk about the mutual relations, trade, and establish stability. It has also been reported that the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, will meet with Nancy Pelosi tomorrow morning. And here are just a couple ridiculous statements from Russia, because I just simply couldn't miss them. First of all, we have this statement by the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Maria Zakharova, who is saying that unlike Russia, America is not for the very first time provoking another country. It is just that this time they became completely shameless, and they are doing this while the whole world is watching. And yeah, the key word here is unlike Russia. And the second statement came to us from the president of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, who 15 minutes before the arrival of Nancy Pelosi stated that soon enough we will see which country is truly great, America or China. And he was obviously implying that China will do something about this situation. And I mean, most likely it's not shooting down the plane, but at least something like as arresting Nancy Pelosi. But just as soon as the plane landed in Taiwan and basically nothing happened, the very same Ramzan Kadyrov said, "Why was this all fuss about? Why would you not just leave this old lady alone and do whatever she wants?" This is basically your perfect example, how we say it in Russian, how to change shoes on the flight. But the next statement came to us from Ukraine, from the advisor to the president of Ukraine himself, Alexei Arestovich. He basically says that this visit of Nancy Pelosi tells the world which country is the boss. But then he added something very important. He said that even though China hasn't done anything about her arrival, she still needs to fly back. Which basically means that even though this story has a very good beginning, it is far from being over. To sum up, here is the moral of this story. Just don't be afraid of bullies. Because these are the countries, or I mean of course even people, who whenever they bluff, most of the time they solely rely on their reputation as someone tough. Unless of course this person is actually crazy, or this specific country has some crazy people in the government. In this case, you should just better stay away from them and cut all the communication. People and countries like this, they're unpredictable, but deep inside they for sure know that they're in the wrong. And the reason why they cannot behave otherwise, it is because they already set these high standards for themselves and their followers. So much of the identity and reputation of people and countries like this is based on their words. And it is their ego which does not let them become the opposite of what they say. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.